Hey there, I'm Danny DeVito, and I'm here to let you in on some great opportunities coming up for filmmakers in my home state of New Jersey. In fact, this is where it all started. You know that, right? Thanks to an incredible range of positive factors, including tax credit initiatives and film-friendly logistics, we're all set to make your production experience the best it can be. So take it from me. When you're deciding where to bring your next production, choose New Jersey.
We are so excited to have the New Jersey Economic Development Authority here. As you saw, they provide so much support for filmmaking and also for the community. Two quick things. Two of the organizations that the EDA sponsors and supports in town. One is Java Love Coffee. There is Java Love Coffee over there. So please help yourself. And then also Cream and Crumb is a local artisanal ice cream shop downtown. And they're gonna drop off some ice cream for after the panel. So stick around, ask questions, really enjoy this film, and thank you again so much. We have another 48 hours. We have like 40 programs left. So if you haven't seen anything, if you're dying for more, pick up a catalog. We got a lot left. And now I'm gonna turn it over to the NJEDA. Our host tonight is Matthew Abraham, and he is the Director of Sector Finance and Incentives.
Good morning, good afternoon, good day. Montclair Film Festival. I am joined, I'm honored to be here, first of all, but I am the Director of Sector Finance and Incentives, and what that really means, that Film Digital Media Tax Credit Program that you saw, I run that program. So a lot of the films that are being, and TV shows that are being filmed here, I work on a lot of that tax credits for those companies. So I am honored with the panelists that we have with us, because I think we have a great group of folks that kind of broadens that industry on the private sector as well as the public sector. And I'm going to introduce them all when they get up here. Never been in a director's chair. Whew. So with me, I do have an award-winning executive producer that has over 30 years of experience in the industry, worked on lots of different productions, both on television and film, all around the world. Daniel Hank. Next to Daniel Hank is the executive director of the Film Commission, Steve Gorlick, and after this, they'll all present their full bio. Next to Steve is Elizabeth Parchak, who is our media superstar for the film and digital media. And from the local municipality of a star-studded municipality who's won an award from the city, and executive director of downtown Cranford is Karen Demian. Dan, do you want to start it off with the introduction of yourself?
I think you did a pretty good job there already. Lived in New York my entire life. Shot in New York and New Jersey for most of it. Started as a location scout, filming in areas like Montclair. Montclair was the backlot for commercial production forever. And as much as Danny DeVito would like you to think, the tax credits were the reason people film here. When Chaplin was here and when Edison invented the camera, no, we were shooting here long before tax credits because it's a really cool place to shoot.
Awesome, thank you. And it's an honor for you to be here, and we really appreciate you being on this panel. Next, we have Steve Gorlick. Like to introduce yourself?
Dan and I were just reminiscing of we've known each other for about 35 years. You've been working here. I've been here even longer than that. I've been with the Motion Picture and Television Commission for 43 years. It's
so a short period of time.
A short period of time. And I feel every one of them. But no, it's been a wonderful experience. We've worked with some of the greatest filmmakers who've ever lived. including Dan Hank right over here. We'll talk more about what we do, I actually have been in New Jersey all my life. I graduated from Rutgers, and I really began with the Motion Picture and Television Commission back in 1980. Not in my current position as executive director, but it's been a really thrilling ride, and to see how things have changed and progressed, and where we are now and where we were then is amazing. And now we're honored to be part of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. We've been in various departments of government throughout the years. We've moved around. The only one I think we haven't hit yet is agriculture, but but we're pleased to be with the Economic Development Authority, which we were part of.
That's right.
Some years ago, and we work with day in and day out on the tax credit program. So here we are.
Yeah, so I've had the pleasure of working with Steve for 17 years, and I've seen him come in and out of our organization, and I got to tell you, there's not a better advocate for the film industry here in New Jersey. But with that, our partner, as well as our marketing guru, Elizabeth, would you like to present yourself?
Yes, thank you. So I started with the commission right before the pandemic, so it was a very interesting time. But I've had the pleasure of working with Stephen, who I think is one of the greatest executive directors of a film commission, and I'm not just saying it because he's my boss, but
One of the only ones, too, after all these years.
I've had a chance to learn so much from Stephen, and he's allowed me to lead our marketing efforts, our communication efforts, and a lot of our programmatic efforts. And I will say that it's very easy to market New Jersey in this climate, just because I came at a great time where the influx of film and television production has just pretty much soared, and just taken a different level. It's just taken on a different new heights in New Jersey. So I also lead our programmatic efforts to make sure that there's a lot of diversity in filmmaking in New Jersey. So we're very intentional about that. And I lead our Film Ready New Jersey program, so we'll dive into a little bit deeper of what that is and how it benefits our local municipalities and preparing municipalities to welcome filmmakers with open arms in New Jersey, as well as those who are coming from out of state. And so it's been a fun ride so far, and very happy and honored to be here today.
Awesome. And just to have some local representation, to understand some of the local nuances and support, we have Karen. Karen.
So my name is Karen Demian. I'm the director of Downtown Cranford, also known as the Office of Business and Economic Development. So my job is I work with over 250 businesses in the town, as well as our property owners, and really work on trying to have a vibrant downtown. We do a lot of event planning, especially with our local theater. I thought we did a lot of events until you guys told me how many you were doing during the film festival, so I think I have some work to do still. But we've also, one year we had 6 major motion pictures filming in town, so I'm looking forward to talking to you a little bit more about that.
Awesome. We will have some Q&A at the end, so we will take everyone's questions as much as we can. To first start it off, the first question to Steve. New Jersey is the birthplace, as we've heard from Danny DeVito many times. You've been here so long and you've been such a strong advocate. You've seen the various programs for film come in and out. How has the EDA in the state adapted under the Murphy administration, making film or developing a studio in New Jersey even more compelling?
Well, first let me make it clear I have not been here since the silent era, so you didn't see any images of that. But the EDA, the film tax credit program has really opened things up. New Jersey has always been extremely desirable to the film and television industry because we have many assets, as Dan, you were alluding to, and as Liz markets on a daily basis, including a wonderful, very deep talent pool. We have the second largest talent pool really in the nation, the New York, New Jersey talent pool, which is a huge asset. The geography of New Jersey is incredible. It offers so many different looks that you can capture and you don't have to travel hundreds of miles to go from one type of terrain to another. You can go from the mountains to the shore, to the city, to the suburbs, and travel minutes. And that is a huge advantage to filmmakers, especially you have a lot of different productions where they're doing road movies, where they're traveling across America. And we've had road movies done here where they're traveling across America and they never left New Jersey. That's how diverse this is. Are any of you familiar with the TV show Little America that was on, you've seen that? Little America was on Apple TV Plus. 8 episodes, each one set in a different state, every single one of them done in New Jersey, and they also did some foreign locales here. So there's that advantage, the cooperation that we offer, but which is, I think, unparalleled. People come here to do filming when they can't get things done in other places quite often, like in your town. No one's seen more filming than downtown Cranford. It's become a film capital there. So we have that advantage. But the thing that really opened the floodgates is the tax credit program. The issue was up until 2018, we did have a smaller program that went back to 2006. It was a $10 million a year program, and it was successful to the extent that it could be. It was limited, of course, but we had some wonderful movies that were shot here, like The Wrestler, which got an Academy Award nomination, and Woody Harrelson got a nomination for The Messenger, but it was limited. And it ran out of money in 2012. The problem there being between 2012 and 2018, we had no financial incentive. And the way the industry is today, finances rule the roost. Aesthetics take a back seat to finances. So when Governor Murphy came in, the legislature had already been hard at work at trying to cobble a competitive incentive that would be competitive with not just Pennsylvania, which offered $70 million a year at the time, and New York, which had $420 million incentive program, and Connecticut, which was uncapped. You can imagine, with all those advantages, they weren't coming to New Jersey very much unless they had to be here. So that is what opened the floodgates, and we created here a very dynamic program, an incentive that is very robust, and we tailored it to the needs of the industry while ensuring that it would create a good return on investment for the state of New Jersey. And that is what really opened things up, and of course the Economic Development Authority has been overseeing it since then, and things are really moving now. I mean, you can see, I know you know better than anyone.
Record numbers of film and film tax credits that have been going out the door. So it's been super overwhelming. For me, it's a little bit more because I need more staffing, but I love to see the amount of production that is being done here in New Jersey. It's just, I think, like you might have mentioned it, New Jersey did take a small hiatus on the film tax credit, but would you like to talk about some of the production numbers?
It's gone up exponentially, it seems, since the tax credit, when the tax credit was introduced in 2018, the new program. We had been doing, well, our revenue from tax credit, from film and television production up until around like, let's say 2017 was about $67 million a year, which is pretty paltry really by national standards. Within a year and a half of having the tax credit, we were up to $400 million a year revenue. Then we had, of course, the pandemic, which shut down filming entirely, but we had no question that we were going to rebound fully. And the very next year, we were up to $500 million in revenue, and then came last year, 2022, where we had, it was incredible, we had 99 feature films shot here, 100 TV series and specials, and revenue shot up to $700 million. And with all, I guess we'll talk about the studios and such, and with all of that coming, it's just gonna, as I said, grow exponentially. This year has been a little tough because of the labor issues, and so filmmaking we were doing great right up until, in fact, you were filming it right up until May, early June. We were tons of productions, and then it shut down basically. It will pick up again, and we'll rebound from this just the way we rebounded from the pandemic. I have no doubt.
Absolutely, definitely we'll see. I see the groundswell on the surge of applications coming in for it, and we all hope that gets resolved real soon. So
hopefully,
hopefully. Elizabeth, local municipalities benefit tremendously from TV and film production. You had mentioned Film Ready New Jersey program. Could you tell us why it's important to municipalities to participate in that?
Sure. I think the simplest way that we can describe and the mission and the goal of the Film Ready New Jersey program is we want towns to stay ready so they don't have to get ready once an army of production descends on a community. So what that means is that we want to prepare towns to be able to handle production when it comes to their town, because it's already happening. And it's not just happening in the isolated area of North Jersey anymore, Central New Jersey, because there is a Central New Jersey, and South Jersey is benefiting from film production, television production, and more. And so the Film Ready New Jersey program trains and educates municipalities on how to welcome production to their towns with open arms. We go through a process. It's a certification process. We first start with a workshop that is the first step to becoming film ready. And in this workshop, we talk about, do you need an ordinance or not? Can you use a code of conduct? I always use Cranford, New Jersey as our poster municipality, because they've seen, 9 or 6 feature films last year, and they just utilize a code of conduct. So and as you know, we have over 500 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. Every municipality wants to do their own thing. So we encourage a code of conduct, but if you want an ordinance, we say we can help you work through those formal guidelines to build a structure within your community so that when filmmakers come, you understand you have a structure in place. You're not just, responding in the moment. I always say that people say that government is reactive, but this is a very proactive program where we're making sure that we're preparing municipalities for what's to come. So our workshop also talks about how to showcase your municipality. That's the first step. Yes, part of my job is marketing, and that's I think one of the underlying, the foundation here, our tax incentive program is great, but our locations, without having locations in the state of New Jersey, why would filmmakers come here? But New Jersey is such a diverse state, its landscape, that we have all the types of areas and geography that you're looking for, and anything that we don't have, we can assimilate. So, the part of marketing your community, showcasing your community, the assets that are in your community, the charm. I believe that every municipality in New Jersey has its own uniqueness, its own charm, and we want to be able to showcase that, because New Jersey looks very different from North Jersey to South Jersey to the shoreline, to farmlands, to urban, to suburban and rural. We have pretty much everything, and so we mine what's in these municipalities through communities, we get the town involved. We've developed a campaign to really crowdsource images and locations in New Jersey to showcase this is what New Jersey has to offer. We're not just the turnpike. We have other types of locations that we can use for filming. And so we also talk about, in our workshop, location management, what to expect, who you're going to be engaging and interacting with. How to speak the language so that there's not that, dispelling that intimidation there. And then we also discuss some, so many different facets that you're going to expect. So that's our Film Ready workshop. And then we go into our certification process. Once you've attended this workshop, we've educated, we've empowered you. Now the next steps into becoming a film ready community, a certified film ready community, you're going to upload those locations. You're going to market your town and the uniqueness and the charm and the attributes of your town, your assets of what you had. You're going to make sure that you have your film guidelines in place, or structure in place. And we always kind of encourage more of a code of conduct, right, Steve, as opposed to really needing an ordinance. But we work with all different kinds. And then what's very important here, too, is that we make sure that municipalities upload in our system their local resources. So your small businesses, your minority and your women-owned businesses. The production industry is an ecosystem within itself where there's limitless opportunities for collaboration for businesses and professionals alike. So we want to make sure that we amplify the resources that are within your community, because when the production comes to your community, it's not just, okay, I'm coming here to film. No, they're using your caterers, they're using your food trucks, they're using your hotels, they're using your office space and your gas stations and your hardware stores. There's just such an ecosystem where pretty much there's just limitless opportunity there. And then, so those are the major steps. That's why we really encourage municipalities to become film ready. And it is kind of like the gold star, we think, and we've used it as somewhat leverage to making sure that we're bringing parity to the state of New Jersey and saying that you're a certified film ready community. Now we can market you to the industry of the benefits, so that when the industry comes to New Jersey, they're saying, okay, Montclair is film ready. Cranford is film ready, so we know that they have the basics and the standards of knowing what to expect. And then it's also about retention, because we want to make sure that it's a great experience for not only municipalities, but for filmmakers. So when filmmakers, they come back and they say, I want to come back. Our last one of our workshops, we had a location manager that said, you know, we keep kind of like a short list of the towns that we know where to film, that we know where to you know, where to go. This town, don't go here. This town, go there. And they want to continue to build that list. And so they were, you know, they're wholeheartedly support and behind the Film Ready program, because they know that there's those basic standards. But I can't underscore enough the economic impact for the communities. That's a part of what we would really like to amplify even more, the economic impact for the small businesses, the professionals.
Yeah, the good list, the bad list is definitely out there in the marketplace. Karen, as Elizabeth mentioned, how important it is for a town to be film ready. Cranford has hosted 6 successful major film production in 1 year under your administration. What steps can municipality officials take to help businesses in their towns get engaged with production-related opportunities?
Well, I think the key to our success, especially that year, was really just communication. So when a film production reaches out to you, you know, though it can be time-consuming on our part, we sit down with every film production and kind of go through what they're looking for, what they're looking to do. And that's from anything from a student film, you know, to a major motion picture. Are there any film scouts in the audience? So especially, like, we always make sure we have a really strong relationship with our film scouts, because they really, like, hit the ground running and know everything going on. So, you know, usually they have my cell phone number, I have theirs. And we really just, you know, go through the process of what they're looking for, set reasonable guidelines and expectations, and always try to find ways to make things work. We do tend to get a lot of films that tend to be maybe complicated for some other towns, so we try to find ways to always accommodate the best that we can. We get all the information and we provide it to our administrator, which then in turn they, you know, send it to our township committee for approval. And we work really closely hand in hand with our police and fire department. So really communication is the key to everything, to make sure that we find success.
Awesome, thank you. Dan, you've filmed everywhere, it seems. You have a long history of production. What are the financial and logistic advantages associated with shooting in New Jersey?
Well, number one is probably parking. There's a lot of good parking lots in New Jersey, which might seem mundane and not film sexy, but I mean, you know, she's talking about all the local businesses that can, you know, thrive, you know, as film locations. I travel with, you know, 12 trucks and trailers and, you know, 50 cars. They got to go someplace. I don't want them in the shot. So parking lots are huge. You can make money just having a parking lot. One thing, you know, the other folks didn't talk, you know, you're all about selling locations or whatever in Main Street USA and great looking streets and businesses. But we come to New Jersey for houses. You know, there's a lot of people, we pay their mortgages for any number of months by letting a film production, you know, film in your living room, do a scene in, you know, in your front yard. Hell, we'll rent your neighbors, you know, also just to be able to use their driveway for, you know, dressing rooms or craft service or other support stuff. So we make an economic impact to the people of New Jersey, not just the businesses of New Jersey. And, you know, I mean, look around, drive through New Jersey. You don't get most of that in the 5 boroughs of New York. You want that look, you have to go to Long Island, which is further and a pain in the butt to film in. Forget about Westchester. You want to talk about non-film friendly communities? Stay away from Westchester. But, you know, pretty much any place in New Jersey is, you know, understandably accessible, both logistically and creatively, that it provides lots of options for people who understand that the location itself is a character in the movie. You know, and, you know, just from there's a new word that came out. Anybody heard the word set jetting? It's a kind of a new thing in the travel industry where people are going to places just to see where things were filmed. So, I mean, isn't there used to be a Sopranos tour? Like you could drive around.
There still is,
To
yeah.
go see the Bada Bing and the pork store and all that stuff. So, I mean, Sopranos is, you know, almost 20 years ago now. But you know, there are and will be films that come along and go, wow. And if you have something that filmed in your house, you know, hey, this film was shot here. Look at the still. Here's me with the star, whatever. You know, you're going to see a lot of that. As I mentioned, I started as a location scout. My claim to fame was actually in New York City as a location scout. I found the building where the Friends live on Bedford and Grove. And it's probably the #1 visited film set in all of New York after maybe Times Square. And I'll walk in that neighborhood any number of times. You know, 2 o'clock in the morning, there's people standing in the intersection taking a picture of the building. But
Yeah,
you can't minimize impact.
I gotta say, I always get geeked out being near a set. Rounders was filmed in Richfield Park, right next to my condo, and then most recently Joker, right next to our offices in Newark. And just to see how they changed the landscape of Market Street and the side streets, it was I was there type of a moment as well. How about the talent, access to talent in New Jersey versus West Coast and even around the world?
Well, talent's a 2-stage thing, right? You have your above the line, which is your actors, directors, producers, and writers, and you have your below the line, which is the crew who does all the heavy lifting. Ideally, you want to find as many people locally as you can, wherever it is you're filming. You know, I've shot in Winnipeg, Canada. You know, not a big filmmaking community. It's maybe 1 or 2 crews deep. It can support maybe 2 shows at the same time. And after that, you have to start flying people in. That's expensive. I'd rather not do that. But, you know, there's not a lot of great actors in Winnipeg, but there's a lot of great actors in New Jersey. There's plenty who live here. There's plenty who live across the river in Manhattan. So, yeah, I'm a big proponent. Most producers I know are a big proponent of shopping local, as it were. So why bring in, you know, a camera person from Los Angeles if, you know, you get somebody who lives in Montclair?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Steve, are you seeing any uptick in any certain parts of Jersey since all the production's been coming in?
Well, I mean, we should explain the 30-mile studio zone so people, many of you probably know about it. If you don't, there's a 30-mile radius from Columbus, marked from Columbus Circle in Manhattan. If you film within that 30-mile radius, you don't have to pay travel time to a crew. So that's a huge advantage for filmmakers who work within that radius because it's or the cast, right? It's very expensive to move a union crew, you know, to pay for them. You know, if you stay within the radius, it's a report too. You have to show up on the set, and then your day begins. So that's why you see the preponderance of filmmaking in the Northeast in areas like this. In fact, you've done 2 recently here. However, we are we're looking to bring production to every corner of the state, the northern part, the southern part, the western part. We are doing quite a bit in Western Jersey these days. I don't know if Good Night Mommy, I don't know if any of you saw that, which a streaming movie on, was it Netflix or Amazon? Amazon, I can't remember. That was done in Somerset County, and David Duchovny just did a movie that's coming out soon called Bucky Something Dent. I'm not going to tell you the full name. He did the whole thing. He actually, they had to shoot this is you talk about wanting cooperation. They basically came in. They didn't have a lot of money. It was based on his novel, and it's kind of a personal project of his. It's a lovely story. And they came in within a few weeks before they needed to start shooting and said, what are we going to do? And I said, well, what do you need? They said, well, we need a baseball stadium for one thing. I said, okay. We know the president of the Somerset, the owner of the Somerset Patriots, so we're going to get you that stadium, and why don't we build this? The Somerset County is very, very film friendly. They were the first county to be trained in film friendly. So we said, why don't we build all the locations around there? And so that's what they did, and they managed to, in like no time flat, and with great help from the county, we were able to accommodate them in Somerset and Middlesex County towns where not as much has been done historically, but really we're pushing now for a lot more in South Jersey because you know, we have a tax credit program and it should benefit filmmakers in the entire state. And really we started seeing a huge influx in South Jersey, or a substantial influx. It started with a Lifetime movie called Death Saved My Life with Megan Good. They needed to film. They were scouting North Jersey. They needed to film in a picture-perfect town, and you know, our legislators are very definite about we want to see stuff in South Jersey. So I said, I was just in Haddonfield, right outside of Philadelphia. It's a gorgeous town. It's just like what you're describing. Why don't you just take a look at it? It's a low-budget film anyway. They only do them for a few million, the Lifetime. So they went down there, and on a Saturday, the producer called me back on Monday and said, that's it, we want it, we're doing it there. And they built the whole production, almost all of it done in South Jersey. And that sort of began, right, a wave of production over there. A lot of independent productions, but we've had some big productions. M. Night Shyamalan. Have any of you seen Knock at the Cabin? The Cabin is in Tabernacle, New Jersey, in the Pine Barrens. That was the biggest production that was done there recently. And then there's an Amazon TV series based on the video game. What's the name of the video? No. It's based on a video game. You all know it. Anyway, Fallout. Thank you. Who said that? You get a prize. Fallout. When we do 99 features a year, I forget. It's a TV show. That was shot in the Pine Barrens at this unbelievable. The locations in South Jersey are just untapped and need to be, you know, they're just amazing. That was a lot of significant scenes were shot at a junkyard in Atco. That is, it has to be seen. It should be a tourist site. It is the biggest you've ever. It was actually, if you've any of you seen Eddie and the Cruisers, way back, shot in 1981, I think it was. That was a major location in Eddie and the Cruisers. But there's lots of towns who have never seen filming, and there's a lot of wonderful locations there. And since then, we've had, a bunch of indie films. John Heder, Napoleon Dynamite just was in a movie down there. We did a movie called Call Her King, which was an independent. It was a thriller. It was on BET Plus just a few months ago. It premiered. And they had a wonderful premiere down there for the show. It was great. The whole community came out because a lot of the people were extras in the movie. By the way, we had a wonderful premiere in your town for a movie called Maybe I Do, which was, a lot of it was actually shot in Montclair with an all-star cast. As you may, if you are from Montclair, you would know that, Diane Keaton was in town, and Susan Sarandon and Richard Gere and many others. And what was really wonderful about that, I must say, is that we're sitting in the Cranford Theater for the premiere of the movie, and the first scene in the movie was shot at the Cranford Theater. So there's a very surreal quality to that. What's that?
Very meta.
Yeah, it was. It was. But anyway, that's the frontier that we're pursuing now, is really South Jersey and central Western Jersey, outside the zone. There is an advantage. The way we try and attract people, there's a 5% uplift in your tax credit on your purchases, rentals, and services if you go outside the 30-mile radius, and that is an attempt by the administration, the governor, the legislature, and the EDA to encourage more filming in South Jersey, and other areas outside the zone.
But we have to pay to put people up down there in hotels and per diem and all that extra stuff and travel time. So it helps. It defrays the cost. But if you need to go to the Pine Barrens, unfortunately, the Pine Barrens are not within the 30-mile zone.
Yeah,
right.
but they're close to Philadelphia. You're a New York guy. So the Philadelphia SAG-AFTRA people, they love it.
Well, anybody loves not having to drive too far to work, right?
That's right.
I don't care if you're going to work at the train station or the post office or the police department. You know, filmmakers certainly, you work a 12, 13-hour day. You don't want to have an hour commute, even if it is you're getting paid for it or not getting paid for it. I shoot in Jersey a lot, and I end up with some crew from Brooklyn. I got to cross 2 rivers to go to work. That's no fun. Same wise, I got crew who lives in Jersey, and they'd love to work on my movie if I'm shooting in New Jersey, and they don't want to cross 2 rivers to go work at Steiner or Kaufman or any of the places in Queens.
It's true.
That's right. Yeah, I remember a lot of grip companies were, they're out at Secaucus, and they were like, oh, we got to go over to Queens. And so a lot of them are so happy about the production here in New Jersey.
Same thing happens in Los Angeles. I mean, I work in Los Angeles. You get somebody who lives in North Hollywood, and you say, oh, I'm shooting down at Manhattan Beach Studios, or I'm shooting down at Sony, or somewhere down closer to the airport. They go, yeah, that's an hour and a half drive for me, on a good day. I'm not gonna take your job. I'm gonna wait around for a job in Burbank or Studio City or something like that. And it's like, really, you're turning down my job because it's too far a drive for you? I didn't get it until I started shooting in New Jersey.
There's a lot of productions, as you say. They'll go to South Jersey, for example, some of them, because it offers some unique locations that you're just not going to find elsewhere. You need a rodeo. The only rodeo within how many miles of the Carolinas, I think, is in South. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's in South Jersey. So you want a rodeo, there it is. The Pine Barrens is an amazing place. If you haven't been through it, you really should tour it. We years and years ago, I got a call from the Disney people. They were doing a Disney feature, and they needed to film in Maryland, but they needed a wilderness area on the way to Maryland that they wanted to film in, and they said, we heard that there's one in New Jersey. We don't believe it, because of course they only know the Sopranos part of New Jersey. So I took them down into the depths of the Pine Barren, and we had to have a 4-wheel drive vehicle to get to some of the places, and they were astonished that New Jersey had this to offer. There's a lot there that people don't know about. They know about it maybe in South Jersey, but that you can take advantage of. It's absolutely a wealth of new locations.
Sure, absolutely. Elizabeth, you spoke about the economic benefits to New Jersey municipalities. How can we ensure that small, minority, and women-owned businesses are included in the economic benefits of production?
Well, we have our tax incentive program has a 2%, 4% diversity bonus. And that's incentivizing using minority and women-owned businesses and cast and crew. So that threshold is 15%. And we're finding that a lot of production companies are going above and beyond that 15%. And so the first thing what we do is on our website, we have a production services directory. And that is an online listing of over 2,000 freelancers and professionals and services and businesses that cater to the film and television digital media industry. And so part of our Film Ready program, and just in general, is we are encouraging small businesses or minority and women-owned businesses to apply for that special designation. We're finding that minority and women-owned businesses that have that classification do not have the designation because it's a special designation by the state of New Jersey. It's a certification. You apply, Department of Treasury, and you're awarded that designation. Not only does it, I tell them that it's not only a benefit for the film and television industry for them, but just in general, because they get exposed to this marketplace of contracts that they can get connected to that they otherwise wouldn't know about without having that designation. So the first thing is making sure, one of our other campaigns is making sure that minority and women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, apply for that designation and have it. It's that certified stamp of approval by the state of New Jersey so that we can upload them and amplify them and code them on our production services directory online as having that designation. Once they have that, productions are using this production services directory as a resource. So they're coming to New Jersey, and if they're filming in a particular place, they can download this directory, this resource guide. It's our diverse suppliers guide that they can use. And if they're looking for particular services, resources, and they know that they're looking for a minority or women-owned business, they can contact them. So that is one of our ways that we are encouraging productions to make sure that they are diversifying their cast and crew, diversifying, the businesses that they engage with. And so, we're making sure that we get them in our system. So our tax incentive program is a great way to do that. And all our production companies are going way above and beyond that 15%, which is really great to see.
It's not hard to hit that threshold.
Yeah.
You put on the application, yeah, I'll do 15%. And then at the end, they say, so how'd you do? And I did 2 films recently in New Jersey, and one we came in at like 46, and the other was 51. And that wasn't even trying very hard.
Yeah, I think the administration was very mindful about adding the additional bonus to 2 to 4% to make sure that we drive that. But as Hank said, it's not real. I'm sorry, as Dan said, or Mr. Hank, it's not hard to hit it, I don't think. Karen, how receptive has the local residents been to the idea of the town hosting production? And then there's a second part to this question, is when productions do come to your local municipality, how do you ensure small businesses and other organizations within those communities benefit?
Well, again, as I mentioned, communication is key. So we always are communicating with our businesses and residents. And when we did all those films that one year, it was funny. There was this one woman that came to the building and she was like, "I'm going on vacation for the month of July. Do you guys want to use my house?" And we were like, "Oh, we're okay, but like, thank you. I'll take your information." But I feel like everybody is so proud to be part of movie production. Like, you grow up and you're in the theater and you're watching films, and just to be like a small part of it, like, brings the community so much pride. So, people really embrace it. When we're working with the film companies, we also try to be very friendly to our community. So if we're filming downtown, we try to keep it on Mondays. Like, no matter how much we prepare, there's always sometimes some hiccups, and we always just try to be accommodating the best we can to keep it fun and friendly for everyone. So our residents love it. They feel really proud when the movies come out. Like, they're always really excited, sharing the trailer and saying, like, "That's right down the street. Oh, they're using my neighbor's driveway. How cool is that?" So it's always a really fun time.
Awesome. I know we're coming down to the countdown, so I think I'm going to start the Q&A's part. So anyone have any questions? Yep.
Yeah, so Andrew Gellman, Greyhound Media, based here in Montclair. We're a production services company, so I want to get on your directory. What's the Netflix situation like? Can you talk about that and what that's going to bring to New Jersey?
That's one of my questions. That's good. Did you read my notes? Yeah, I think, Steve, do you want to jump on not only Netflix, but Lionsgate production coming
Lionsgate is going to be in
New.
Newark. That one is the soonest one to sort of erupt from the ground. In
They
January.
have. They've done the demolition already,
Right.
and they're
They start
prepping.
building in January, is what they, as we are told. Weather allowing, of course. And then we have another one, 1888 Studios, that may go in Bayonne. They're still working on the financing. As far as Netflix, I'll give you the honest answer. There's still work to be done. It's not a done deal yet, and Netflix would tell you that, and the base redevelopment authority would tell you that as well. There's still much to be negotiated because they're contemplating an extremely large. We're talking almost 300 acres, right?
Right.
290 acres,
Right.
something like that. We were recently in California. I always tell people, and we went to the Warner Brothers studios. That's about 160 acres tops. Now, can you imagine, if you've seen the size of that studio, how big this can be? So they're not just building studio buildings, but they're building backlot and office buildings. And there's questions about how high can a building be and such, because remember, it's not like their New Mexico studio, where they're in the middle of the desert, so it really doesn't matter how high they build it or whatever, nobody's going to project, but you have to work with the community to make sure that it's aesthetically, reasonable within the community. So there's a lot of back and forth about that. So really, the approval process hasn't even started. That won't start till next year, and probably the dirt won't be moving till the year after, and you wouldn't see, if that all goes well, you won't see production there until 2027, something like that. That's what Netflix tells me. And again, it's probably going to be done in phases because it's a very, they're building like 15 sound stages there, 50 feet high and what have you. But it should be a tremendous facility and a shot in the arm. I always tell people, here you have a situation where an Army base closes, and that's usually economically devastating to a community, and it was to the general Fort Monmouth area. But now we're on the precipice of bringing in another army. This is basically this army of filmmakers. So it's a full rebound almost. So I mean, I think everyone's in favor of it. I think I'm very optimistic it will go ahead. I think EDA in general is.
Oh, yeah.
And they're working. EDA has been working hard. I know there's something coming up, right?
It's been meetings after meetings,
right?
And really trying to get them in.
Well, they're serious about it, I can tell you that much. But,
Oh, yes,
But the big
absolutely.
question is, I mean, and nobody seems to have been able to answer this one, not the IA, not the Teamsters, not Netflix or anybody. It's 33 miles from Columbus Circle. And, if you live in Brooklyn, like I was talking about, hard to get people to cross two rivers, it's an hour and a half from Brooklyn. It's probably an hour 15 from Manhattan. So the trick is, if you build it, will they come?
Right. I think the other two studios, one being in Newark, Lionsgate, and the other one in Bayonne, 1888, which Steve had mentioned. And 1888 is supposed to be a huge studio as well.
I've seen those plans. That looks
The
terrific.
plans are just amazing. It would probably be
70
the
acres.
largest.
I didn't know you could find 70 acres in Bayonne,
Well,
the southern
and
part
that's
of
a
Bayonne.
good part of that.
70 acres.
The 70 acres there is really an old brownfield site that's being redeveloped into a studio. I mean, we're taking unpurposed, unusable land and making it purposeful again. So I mean, that in itself is a great testimony. But it's supposed to be one of the largest in America, or like on the East Coast at least.
Well, I mean, Netflix certainly will be.
Yeah. Well, this, yeah.
It's
I
a
mean,
beautiful.
Depending
I mean,
on the plans
saw
you
the
look
plans.
at, right?
Well, I mean, you're very familiar, and maybe not everyone is with the plans for the Bayonne studio, but it's sort of modeled on the classic Art Deco studio that you would find in California, like Paramount Pictures. It's beautiful. I mean, the plans, it just looks beautiful, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. It would be wonderful to have that facility there, and I think it would be a real shot in the arm for Bayonne, for Hudson County in general. We already have a 3-stage studio complex in Jersey City, Cinelise Cave and Point, which is used constantly. A TV series called Murder at the End of the World. You might have seen the trailer for it. A lot of it was done there. It was a build, was done on all 3 stages there. They're really state-of-the-art studio stages, and we have studios that exist now that are really quite large. I mean, we have they're single-stage studios. They're not like studio complexes necessarily, but we have Palisade stages in Kearney. Kearney itself, Kearney Point, has a lot of studio development there, and then there's 10 Basin Studios where. You mentioned Harlan Coben Shelter. Harlan, being from this area, was filmed there and on location. And then we have Sustainable Studios in Moonachie, and they're going to be building another one. So we have some very large stages that exist now. These are big complexes that are coming along, and when they get going, my goodness, I mean, the amount of production going on here. New York's a little nervous, and I don't blame them.
Sure. I'm getting my headshots ready. Go ahead. Yeah.
So as an indie filmmaker, I'm really interested in this database of potential locations. My question is there visual reference that we can just look at, and is it free to just be able to browse?
All you have to do is, you want to talk on that?
Yeah, all you have to do is go to our website. We have a very extensive database that we use. It's powered by Real Scout, and you can essentially scout from your computer. So each location has numerous images, very good representation of the property. It'll give a description if there's any type of restrictions. And then if you're interested in a property, you just have to fill out a form which comes to our team. We just review it, make sure that you're a legitimate project production, and then if you're interested, we'll connect you with the town, and you can start that engagement. But it's a very extensive database. Just to give you an idea, when we first acquired the system, I think we started off with maybe 2,000 images. We're pushing 50,000 images now.
50,000.
Yeah, over 3,200 locations. and it's continuing to build.
And you can filter your results by by subject matter, you know, train station, pre-war high school, whatever it might be, by
Style.
architectural style, by location, by county or town, and also whether it's located in a film-ready town, because each image that's located in a film-ready town will be labeled film-ready, located in a film-ready town. So it's a very powerful database. So you can do a lot of scouting there. At least, even if you don't use the exact locations, you might go through the database, look at the photos and say, well, I know in this area I've seen a lot of what I like. Let's say you need the Midwest, and you'll look in South Jersey, in Cumberland County, or Central Jersey, maybe in Plainsboro, and you'll see a lot of flat farmland. I said, maybe this isn't exactly what I want, but it's obviously in this area, so I'll go scout it.
And it's free. It's a free service.
Free.
And the film office is awesome if you're looking for a list of things to go look at yourself. Like I got a script. A guy wanted to film practically an entire movie in a shopping mall. And he wanted either a closed or a partially closed shopping mall. And it's like, well, there's got to be some of those in New Jersey, right? Probably a few, right?
A few.
What'd you send me, like 20?
We have lists of everything. Like
So yeah,
if
we
you-
send out packages based upon your needs.
If you need a general store, we got a list of general stores in the contacts and such. We make it. That's especially handy because when we're talking about features and TV shows, but a lot of people are doing commercials, and this is the way a commercial works.
We want to shoot tomorrow.
Right. It's just like they need to meet. They're going out this morning. What can you send me? And then they're going to be shooting within a few days, if you're lucky. TV shows are often like that too. Unfortunately, they're very challenging because with TV series, you know, you're doing, let's say, 22 episodes. Scripts are coming in 2 weeks before they start shooting. It is really challenging. And, oh, by the way, we need to do a T-bone of a car here, and this is going to blow up, and we have a firefight. You know, just.
Well, it's why it's great to have resources like Cranford where we can say, hey, I just got a script. I need a church. I needed this. And they all have to be on the same block because that's the only day I have to shoot all these things. You can say, yeah, we're set. We have all this stuff ready for you. Come on down.
That's right. You go to people like Karen, and she can make the magic happen very quickly, right?
We try. So, and it really like works so well for us as a town because, for example, when we've had some movies come in, speaking of churches, like they've used a church that really could have used the support financially from using the space and, worked with the bakery in town for a cake for a wedding scene. And, it's just been such like a great relationship, on our end, working with the films.
Well, that's the other thing. It's film is shovel-ready economics, right? I mean, EDCs all over the country could spend years waiting to develop the next big thing. We're going to have a factory. We're going to have a distribution center. We're going to have a soundstage complex rebuilt from an army base, right? That stuff takes years. Hey, I'm going to show up next week and throw tens of thousands of dollars into your community with little more than a phone call to Karen.
It's wonderful when something like that happens, when a location is used and you can really help the location renovate or restore or something like that.
Pay their taxes.
Pay their taxes, well, that too. We were working on War of the Worlds. Steven Spielberg's been here a lot, as you may know, and they wanted to build a gas station and then blow it up, of course, because you come to New Jersey to blow things up. At the southern end of Bayonne, by the Kill Van Kull, there was a baseball field there. So the trick was to
Not anymore.
Well, no, you're wrong. They needed permission to level the baseball field. Build the gas station. It wasn't really a gas station, of course. It was just a set, and they blew it up. And they also blew up the Bayonne Bridge in the movie. A lot of things got blown up. But afterwards, they promised and they delivered. They rebuilt the field. It's gorgeous with a beautiful scoreboard. It says donated by Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise. Yeah, and it was like amazing what it did for the Little League. And it didn't cost them anything, That can happen.
And then the media exposure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's media exposure that you just can't pay for. I think last year or 2 years ago, when Gabrielle Union was filming The Perfect Find in Newark, she posted on her Twitter account or Instagram account to her 20 million followers, and she said, in Newark, Halsey Street is a vibe. And then she listed all the companies or all the businesses that gifted her like socks or something. And then she also listed the company one of the businesses that she bought an outfit from, and then the next day it was sold out. So it's like you can't pay for that immediate exposure. And of course, then her husband, Dwayne Wade, came and on their wrap day, and they used the local caterers, and so that was just unbelievable exposure that you can't pay for.
By the way, Liz pumps out these press releases one after another so that we make sure the world knows about what's going on.
All right, you had a question. Yeah, if no one's heard, if you couldn't hear it, it's a certificate program for location. So definitely it's a good, at NJIT, which is a great opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I say that, as Steve always says, we're building an industry that's too big to fail in New Jersey. So we're focusing on the permanent infrastructure. We've got the locations. We've got an aggressive, one of the best and robust tax incentive programs. But I think one of the missing pieces here is the workforce development piece. How are we training the next generation of talent in New Jersey, because they are here? And so there are plans that are in the works with the EDA as well as the governor's office to building out a very robust workforce development training program. And I know that will probably be announced in the coming days. But what we've done in weeks and months, but what we've done as a commission over the last few years, we've hosted several production assistant boot camp trainings throughout the state of New Jersey in different regions of the state. They've usually been sponsored by NBC Universal or one of our other partners, and we offer that production assistant boot camp training, which is the 2-day training in how to get into the industry on entry level. And we've done that. We've successfully had those boot camps, I think about 7 or 8. So we've trained about 130, 150 residents from New Jersey from diverse backgrounds. And that is the gateway into the industry. So we've started there, which has been very, very successful. We hope to continue something like that in the future. But there are definitely plans, and there's a lot of organizations throughout the state very interested, as well as NJIT. So we thank you for your collaboration and partnership, and just really being a thought leader on that. But definitely a lot of plans in the works and a lot of organizations that we're collaborating with.
I'm glad you brought that up, Barbara, because one of the things that would limit the growth of full development of filmmaking in this area is the problem of having enough crew people. And we have the largest crew base, but I'm sure you've experienced it. When filmmakers are going full bore, it gets very thin. The ranks get very thin, and we need more crews, particularly in South Jersey, because there's a limited crew base in the Philadelphia metropolitan area, and we have to develop those crews. And we're not just talking about producers and directors. We got a million of those. We're talking about grips and gaffers. We're talking about carpenters and electricians and people like that. So our thought is, and I know that EDA is working on this, is to sort of divert people who are going to the trade schools and thinking about getting into the trades, maybe doing carpentry and electric, and think about doing it in the film industry, where you can use those skills and but apprentice with the unions, the IATSE, for example, and then because there's a serious lack of, when things are going wonderfully, and not this year, but the year before, we need more. I mean, would you agree? We need more.
We need more
crews.
everybody. Yeah, how about medics? Like, it took me, I don't know, 25 phone calls last year to find a medic. This is a one-person department. And, I mean, in my imagination, there's just people who don't have the imagination that, oh, after I put in my 20 working for the Montclair Fire Department or the Somerville Fire Department or the whatever volunteer fire department, that I could still be making 40, 50 bucks an hour working on film sets. Oh, and I don't have to do it forever. It's only for a few weeks if it's just for a movie. I could do it and then go back to Florida. But we need all crafts, and the fact that you have a program for location people, that's fantastic. That might be the first in the world.
And just building on that too, Dan, when you mentioned public safety, fire, and police training, a part of our Film Ready program is that we're training your police departments, your fire departments, because that's a crucial part of safely managing a shoot, because you have the intervention traffic, closing down roads, and so forth, and building just on that same vein. Thinking about more of building out a fire training program, because there's those pyrotechs. There's those it's a very tailored, very specialized area to go into. So we are looking at that too, as well as building out a training for those folks as well.
We also spend a great deal of money hiring police and fire folks from the local communities to support the film sets, and they like it too. It's overtime. It's more pension money for them. It's a better situation for the whole community, and our food's pretty good too.
In the back? Oh, sorry.
Thank you for all the information. I'm a producer from Brooklyn, and we have a couple films in development right now. And I guess I was just curious, you spoke about the robust tax incentive, and I'm sure I can Google this, but I was just hoping you could spell that out in terms of just what the potential upside would be for micro to mid-budget films shooting in New Jersey, or bringing them from New Jersey.
We offer actually, there's 3 allocations to the tax credit program, and I won't get too much into the weeds because it gets very confusing, but I'll just say generally, we offer a 35% tax credit for casting crew salaries, prorated to the days you work in New Jersey as opposed to the total days you work on the production. So if it was partly in New York and partly in New Jersey, obviously only the New Jersey days would count, and that's 35% throughout the state. And then we offer a 30% tax credit for purchases, rentals, and services used within the 30-mile radius of Columbus Circle in New York. On the Jersey side, I get asked that question all the time. It's unbelievable that people would think we would give a 35%.
Half the 30-mile zone is in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, but we don't pay for that. And good luck with that. And then beyond the 30-mile radius, it's 35% for the rest of New Jersey for purchases, rentals, and services used throughout the rest of New Jersey. There is a 2 or 4% diversity bonus. As mentioned, the bar is pretty low. Most companies easily meet that. But it's basically you have to be minimally 15% diverse, meaning women and minorities. You set the goal in your application when you apply for your tax credit. You also apply for the diversity program, and whatever goal you set, you have to meet that goal. And there's two other allocations which probably you would not be utilizing for individual projects, but if you're doing if you're like Lionsgate, which are doing tons of features, so they've been designated as studio partners. That's one of the other allocations where they have agreed to lease 250,000 square feet of production space, right, for a period of 10 years. And in doing so, they not only get a separate allocation, it's $150 million a year for that program, but they get increased escalating above the line qualification depending on how much they're spending above the line. And that looks at projects in the aggregate. So you can, in order to meet the qualifications of that project, you can do so utilizing several different projects, whereas the initial allocation, the $100 million a year allocation, which I referenced previously, that's just a per project allocation. We call it the legacy
program, right?
Because we have no name for it.
Yeah, and the application is on our website, www.njeda.gov/film, and you could and then there's a link right there for the application. It's a simple application process. You want to do it prior to starting your shoot, and then you get your approval, and once you complete everything and you can prove what was done here in New Jersey, you submit your certifications, and then you get your tax credit, and they could either use it against any tax obligation your production company might have, but if you can't use it, you could also sell it. That market is pretty robust in the marketplace as well. So.
And we should also mention one of the most beautiful things is in July, the governor signed legislation that extends all 3 allocations to 2039, which really underscores the seriousness of our intention of bringing filmmakers
It
here.
future-proofs.
That's how you get studios here, because they want to see that kind of
They
commitment.
want to see
wanna know-
commitment.
right.
Yep, that's right.
Murphy for president.
Is there a minimum budget for these incentives?
There isn't, it's not legislated to have a minimum budget. There's a practical limitation in that if you're doing a movie for $50,000, it's not really practical to apply for a tax credit because just the application fee, having to get the CPA review and such would cost you more than you're getting. However, I would say if you're in the 300, 350,000 range and up, then it makes sense to get that kind of tax credit. But there's 2 ways to qualify for the program. Now that you bring that up, one is to shoot 60%, spend 60% of your budget here, less post-production costs, although if you do post-production, that will count towards the tax credit. Alternatively, if you spend $1 million or more qualified production costs, you qualify.
That's how shows like, West Side Story, which was mostly in New York, they came here for a few weeks. They got it because they spent over $1 million. Likewise, The Joker did a few weeks here, and it was based in New York.
That is the wisdom. I don't mean to make this a political commercial of this administration, but the original draft didn't have that. But we said, and
It's
the
brilliant, and I think
administration
it's the only
agreed,
place in the country that does it.
that we would be turning away by demanding that you spend 60% of your budget here. If you're doing West Side Story, we wouldn't have had West Side Story. We wouldn't have had the $20 million spent here. And why give that up? We were excited to have them. We're excited to have parts of big movies. Their money is perfectly good, well spent here.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of applications that are the small, 300,000 and up. So I mean, it's not unseen. So throughout our office, we get these independent films that come in. So we're always happy to deal and issue those tax credits for them too. There was a question on this side. Yep.
Saw recently that there was the writer's strike, and I had a friend who from elementary school, Allison Smart, and she worked at a production company, and she was part of like the writer's strike as a secretary. And then I wrote a comment on a website, and then I was walking into my town of Verona, and then after I wrote the comment on the website, I asked if they could make a petition so people could sign a petition for the writer's strike. And then I heard on the radio, I think that night that there was the Oppenheimer premiere got shut down for the writer's strike. My question is that has there been any steps forward for any improvement with the writer's strike?
Writer strike's been over for 3 or 4 weeks now, and SAG is still on strike, but should be settled, hopefully, knock on wood, in the next 48 hours.
We're all knocking.
But the writers are back at work.
Yeah, they've been.
Was there a deal reached in terms of the writers getting any sort of more pay from?
They got practically everything they asked for.
Yeah, that's why a lot of the talk shows have come back, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I actually had a question. My name is Brianna Armstead. I work with the NJEDA, so I know all these lovely people, and you guys have done a phenomenal job.
Thank
But I had a question more so from the homeowner's perspective, because I know Danny mentioned that this is great for small businesses, but this is also great for the people. If you're a homeowner, how do you make yourself available? I know that you guys have a directory, but should you be reaching out to your municipality?
Nope.
Do you shop? How do you shop yourself?
Great question. So when we meet with our municipalities with our Film Ready certification program, I also tell them that, look, I send them a graphic. Send this out to your constituents. Send this out to your town because we want homeowners as well. And I always say to them, if it's a mayor, I said, Mayor, you can rent your home out. Your home can be a potential filming location. And we always get asked the question, what are filmmakers looking for? The simplest way I say it, they're looking for the ordinary to the extraordinary. You never know what may attract a producer's attention, right, Dan? So I think that the more homes that we have, the more locations, I just say pretty much you need to photograph your entire town and get it in our database. So Brianna, if you want to upload your home as a potential filming location,
No, here's the other thing.
you
Tell your
certainly can do
neighbors,
so.
because what happens is, that's the scout lady here. Scouts will flyer a neighborhood. They'll say, oh, there's a whole neighborhood full of Victorian houses, right? And they'll flood but you can only do so many houses. It's just you, right, in your car. And you go around and you leave a flyer and say, hey, we're interested in filming. Call this number, email me. We'd love to take a look at your house. But we may not get to every house. So tell your neighbors, hey, if you ever hear anybody wants to film, I'm interested. Because maybe they got the flyer and you didn't.
And I'm just going to jump in really quick. Usually when a film scout flyers the neighborhood, we usually just ask for permission with the police department, just because we do get a lot of calls saying, like, is this legit? Is this a fraud?
This
So it's
is
nice
a sketchy
to know.
guy in a beat-up Ford.
And then also, too, when film scouts do reach out to us and they tell us what kind of houses or anything they're looking for, businesses, like, I'm usually in my car taking pictures, texting them options, because I feel like I'm trying to work the job. Like, I'm like, I want you guys to choose Cranford. It's a great place. So definitely, like, reach out, to your local municipality for ideas and suggestions.
Awesome. I think you had a question there.
My son is a film student, and they're doing these commando shoots. And is there any opportunity for him to be able to access like a legitimate approach, or is there a certain size where they should just stay commando and do their shoot and run? And do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I always suggest definitely reaching out to the municipality. So we're very supportive of student work. We have a code of conduct that we ask everybody to fill out and sign. We don't have a permit fee in Cranford, which is a little unique. But it's so much better to ask permission, just because, if we get calls all the time from people saying, like, there's, trucks, on the street, or even if somebody's doing a reel, like, we'll get like 10 calls from businesses saying, like, what's going on as they're filming today? So it's usually better for us to know, so that way we could kind of calm people down of, like, oh no, we knew this was happening, we know this is going on. So I definitely, I think sometimes, especially for student work, it's like a little hesitant of, like, well, how much is this gonna cost me, or what kind of headache will this be? We really, we all started when we were young, right? Like, we all started, as students. So, definitely reaching out and starting that relationship.
And part of our Film Ready program, again, I just love referring back to it, just building this structure, is that when we're meeting with towns and they do have an ordinance, we always make sure we always make sure to review what the fees are for student filmmakers. We basically tell them, no, you can't do that. You can't charge $1,000 for a student filmmaker. And usually they fall into the category of a nonprofit. And typically they do not charge a fee, $25 maybe for a permit application. So we treat our student filmmakers as if, they're a well-known director or producer, because that's where it starts. You never know that they can start as a student filmmaker and then come back, and then if they have a good experience in New Jersey, they're going to come back years later when they've made it big. And so we do have that always usually built in our ordinances. So if your son, make sure that he reaches out to his office, because we'll provide the same service that we provide to all filmmakers and producers that are interested in filming in New Jersey. There will be, of course, particular maybe locations they can't shoot at just because they don't have the insurance in place maybe, but we'll be able to walk them through and guide them through the guidelines that would be applied to each town. Correct.
We have every permit on file, and it's always best to get permission rather than get arrested. It's always we had. It's not just the small films. I mean, oh man, we had Jonathan Demme was shooting Something Wild, the movie Something Wild, and they had to do shots all along Route 9W, going through like 4 or 5 different towns. So it was too hard to get police forces from 5. So we got a state trooper to stay with them, and they went up, drove up Route 9W and did all their shooting for Something Wild. And then they said, Jonathan said, goodbye, it was great, thank you very much. Then he says, let's just look around a little more, and he decided to go into the Ringwood State Park. And they sat down and started shooting there, and along came the ranger who was about to arrest him, and they're calling me, and I said, "Why did you do that?" But it's always best to just do it the right way. Otherwise, even if you're probably not going to get arrested. But why have a shoot closed down when you invested all the money in doing the shoot that day, and you hired the crew and all of that? It doesn't. That's not good planning.
Cinematic community only goes so far.
You had somebody here? Okay, go ahead.
About 10 years ago, the Montclair School ran a program called Your House Should Pay for You. And it was a night with scouts, and they said, show your name on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I put my name on a piece of paper. I had J.C. Penney in my house. I had
Nice.
Center for Disease Control, an anti-smoking campaign. None of them were talkies. They were, one was a Christmas commercial for the Christmas catalog for J.C. Penney. They just used different areas of my house. As my nephew said, why did they only use the chair in the corner of the living room? I said, I don't know, but maybe that's not right there. And then we had an independent film coming in, and they put us up in a hotel because they filmed mostly at night with a horror film. And, they just call you. When my house went on selling it, the person I thought was calling me that on the phone that I picked up was the scout saying, can we come and look at your house? I said, well, when are you planning to be here? I said, I will own the house then. So I forwarded them on to the buyer, and the
Yeah.
buyer switched over and they
Oh, nice.
What an effing great idea. What town are you in again?
Montclair.
Why doesn't every
Town
community
have
in
that.
New Jersey have that little session for homeowners who are looking to make their properties available?
I think as more production comes in, we're going to be forced to do so as we need more location and more.
Well, we're also looking for willing partners, right? We
Yeah,
don't want
that's
your
right.
house if you don't want us there.
That's right.
We want your house because you do want us there.
Have my house. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Marcy Clark, and speaking of being a homeowner and renting out houses, I'm a co-owner of the Scout Source with 2 other co-owners. I'm also a location scout, but we represent over 1,000 houses in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, the Hamptons. So we have worked. My husband Dave Clark has worked closely with the
For many years.
for
Many years.
So I'm just saying, if anybody after, not to
Yeah.
steal your wonderful thunder, but if anybody after the show wants to list their house, I'm happy to also help them.
Awesome. And we think we're at time, but is there one more question? Ice cream here yet?
Stall for 30 more seconds. Is there one
Yeah.
more question?
Yeah. Sure.
I'm a realtor in town, and I did have a client that they did use her house. And so the impression was they were gonna come in and sort of just use her place as the backstep for this particular filming. But they came in and basically almost changed the whole house. You almost didn't know it was her house at all. So when you're saying you're looking for housing, are you really more focused on exterior aesthetics, space in a place?
Mostly interiors. I mean, I wouldn't say it's just outside. It's not a deal breaker, but most of the time we want an inside that matches the outside. So it would be the whole animal. You can't just say you can only have my living room.
Yeah, and I think
Is it also the idea that it's big enough to bring a crew in, to be able to get shots, and have
I've shot in plenty of houses that were too small for us to shoot in, but that's where the director picked.
Yeah, I think it kind of spreads that gamut of someone sees something that they want. So like in Hillsdale, where I'm from, one of my neighbor's house just on the outside was done. However, inside shooting was done at another house. So I think they just take what's best for their filming and whatever the vision the director has for it. And sometimes, like you said, there are opportunities. Well, I don't want to say opportunities, but there are times where they ask if they could do some construction onto the house, and sometimes you might be able to get, an expansion, but or some kind of improvements done into your home as well. So I've heard of some of those scenarios too. So I haven't heard negative stuff, but which
Well,
is a
you have
positive thing.
you have the choice usually to accept the changes that were made. If you like them, they'll leave them. They like, maybe the production designers are amazing, and they come in, they look, and that wallpaper's a little tacky. Maybe we want to do something with that, or whatever. Or they can just change them back, or what have you. The homeowner should have the the option. I mean, we do feel the ideal house, and I realize directors want what they want, but the ideal house is, yeah, the kitchen's going to be big so you have room to move around, and the bedroom is going to be, you know, the living room a little bit oversized, so that, because there's so much equipment involved and so many
You fill it with a
members.
crew of 50 people.
Yeah, so ideally, yeah. I look at my brother-in-law's house. It's on Long Island, so I can't advertise it. But and he has a huge kitchen. He has a huge living room. And it's like I said, this would be perfect for filming. You know, it's ideal. You should, you know, the homeowner should have that option. It should be spelled out in the contract that yeah, it's going to be returned to its original state, or it's not. We'll accept the changes. You know, sometimes we've had stuff like we were filming down in Island Beach State Park for a movie called Stealing Home with Jodie Foster and Mark Harmon. It's quite a while ago. It's like in the 80s. And we were filming at the Governor's Beach House. That was an interesting arrangement. And they needed to build a boardwalk going to the beach, a little boardwalk going across the sand to the beach. And, you know, we said, well, you know, that's really not generally allowed because there's dunes there and such like that. You can do it temporarily, but and then take it down. And the first ladies at the time, I think it was Governor Byrne, or it was Governor Kane. First lady said, well, it has to come down. We don't want it left there. Anyway, they built this beautiful walkway to the beach. And of course, they filmed there, and they loved it. And they said, oh, we got to keep it. And they said, well, you can't because we built it with the pilings don't go that deep, so that it's not code and it can't stay and it will not last. So some people change their mind, but.
We just want to thank each of you for coming today, spending the morning with us. This has been incredibly insightful and helpful, and we know there are a lot of filmmakers in the audience, and hopefully that you found it helpful as well. We can't thank you enough for supporting the festival and supporting the community. It's really, we know you're doing amazing work, and as we mentioned, two of the businesses that the EDA sponsors, Java Love, we have coffee over there, and Cream and Crumb ice cream just got delivered. I do not have the inside scoop on the flavors, but for those of you that don't know, it's an artisanal ice cream shop down the street, black-owned business, local family, and they source all their ingredients local. So if they have coffee ice cream, the coffee's from Paper Plane, which is another organization in town. This community just time and time again steps up for each other, and that's part of what I love about the festival. Take a festival guide home with you, look at all of the businesses that are supporting Montclair Film, go visit those places because they really allow us to do things like this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.